Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into some truly fascinating mechanics of the human brain, drawing directly from Thibaut Maris's highly practical guide, Dopamine Detox. If you've ever found yourself endlessly putting off important projects, staring blankly at a screen, or just feeling practically incapable of doing deep, meaningful work, well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're going to unpack exactly how to reclaim your focus, break that vicious cycle of procrastination, and actually rewire your brain to do hard things.
Okay, let's kick things off by completely shattering a massive misconception. Most of us think of dopamine as this ultimate reward, right? We think it's that warm feeling of pleasure we get after we do something great. But it's actually not. Dopamine is literally the chemical of anticipation. It doesn't reward you when you achieve something. It's the evolutionary trigger that creates the burning desire to seek out a reward in the first place. It's basically that loud voice in your head saying, "Hey, look over there. There's something exciting. Go grab it."
Which brings us to Section 1. The overstimulation problem.
Now, while that anticipation system was incredibly helpful for our ancestors foraging for food in the wild, in the modern world, it's been completely hijacked. Modern tech companies know exactly how this biological anticipation system works, and they've weaponized it with push notifications, endless scrolling feeds, and quick commerce apps. And that leads us to a really vital concept: baseline tolerance. See, your brain has a standard, natural level of dopamine expectation. But when you constantly feed it these cheap, instant chemical hits, your natural baseline tolerance just absolutely skyrockets. Your brain literally starts expecting a massive hit of dopamine every few seconds.
And the result of that sky-high baseline is a massive, everyday imbalance. On one side, we have these high dopamine, low-effort activities, doom scrolling, playing video games, or just endlessly refreshing your analytics. On the other side, we have low dopamine, high-effort activities like writing a script, studying, or planning a business project. When your baseline is through the roof from those cheap hits, low-effort scrolling feels incredibly easy, while high-effort work suddenly feels almost physically painful and, frankly, incredibly boring.
So, here is the absolutely crucial takeaway. Please don't feel guilty. If you've been struggling to focus, it's not some character flaw, and it's definitely not laziness. It is pure biology. Your brain naturally rejects the hard things simply because it's wired to conserve energy. I mean, if it knows it can get a massive chemical reward elsewhere with literally zero effort, it is going to fight you every single step of the way when you try to sit down and do deep work.
Let's move on to Section 2, the 48-hour reset.
The really good news here is that we can fix this biological hijacking. We're not stuck this way. We can build a very clear path to recovery through 3 distinct steps: pinpointing your focus drains, making your bad habits physically difficult to perform, and then willingly accepting low-stimulation activities. Let's break these down one by one.
For step 1, you have to be brutally honest with yourself and identify your personal hijackers. For most of us, these focus killers look exactly like mindless phone scrolling, the compulsive need to check emails and metrics every 5 minutes, heavy gaming, or even eating highly processed, sugary foods while you're trying to work. You've got to name your enemy before you can defeat it.
Now for step 2. And listen closely to this one because it's a game changer. Willpower alone will fail. You can't just tell yourself to try harder because your brain is biologically wired for the path of least resistance. Telling yourself you just won't look at your phone simply isn't going to cut it. You have to build external friction. You have to actively manufacture barriers.
You can easily build this friction just by manipulating your environment. If you're working, physically put your phone in another room. Seriously, shove it in a drawer if you have to. If you work on a computer, install website blockers like Stay Focused or Cold Turkey. The whole goal is to make your bad habits practically impossible, or at least highly, highly inconvenient to execute. When your brain blindly seeks that cheap hit, the friction stops it dead in its tracks.
Finally, step 3. During your 48-hour detox window, which, by the way, is typically done over a weekend, you actually need to actively embrace boredom. You have to severely restrict high-stimulation activities and swap them out for low-stimulation tasks. I'm talking about journaling, taking a long walk in nature without any headphones, or just sitting down to read a physical book. By forcing your brain to just sit with this lack of stimulation, you effectively reset those exhausted dopamine receptors. And the crazy thing is, suddenly, starting a complex project won't feel like pulling teeth anymore. It'll actually feel engaging.
Which brings us to Section 3, sustaining your focus.
Because here's the catch, right? A 48-hour reset is completely useless if you just wake up on Monday morning and immediately relapse into your old overstimulated habits. So to translate all this theory into daily practice, we can map out 3 real-life, highly actionable scenarios you can use to avoid falling right back into the overstimulation trap. We have the sacred morning, deep work blocks, and the digital fast weekend. Let's explore exactly how you can implement these right away.
Starting with Scenario 1, the sacred morning. The absolute most common trap people fall into is grabbing their phone the second they wake up to check notifications. Doing this floods your highly receptive morning brain with cheap dopamine. It sets a tragically high baseline right out of the gate, which essentially ruins your productivity for the rest of the afternoon. Everything after that morning scroll is just going to feel boring. So the rule is super simple. No screens for the first 60 minutes. Buy a cheap digital alarm clock and charge your phone completely outside of your bedroom.
Instead of scrolling, spend those first 60 minutes doing these low-dopamine, high-value activities. Wake up, drink a big glass of water, grab a physical notepad and write down your top 3 priorities for the day, or just read 10 pages of a book. Because your brain hasn't been blasted with digital stimulation yet, you'll be amazed to find that starting your most challenging task of the day suddenly feels significantly easier.
Next up is Scenario 2, deep work blocks. These are vital because, as we discussed, your brain is naturally going to look for an escape route the very second a complex project gets frustrating or mildly difficult. You need a rock-solid system to manage that friction in real time.
And the setup for this is honestly brilliant. Before you even start, the phone goes in another room, and the website blockers get turned on. Then, you set a timer for 90 minutes and commit to this exact mindset. I don't have to perfectly finish this project right now, but for the next 90 minutes, my only 2 options are to work on this specific task or stare blankly at the wall. By completely removing your quick escape options, your brain adapts to the boredom of the task. Usually within 10 to 15 minutes, it just gives in and drops you right into a highly productive state of flow. Finally, we have Scenario 3. If you're feeling chronically distracted, deeply burnt out, and you catch yourself constantly refreshing feeds without even thinking about it, daily blocks aren't going to be enough. You need a hard reset. You need to implement the 48-hour digital fast weekend.
To make this weekend fast actually work, you have to inform your friends or your team on Friday that you'll be completely offline. Then, you have to strictly eliminate all of these non-essential, hyper-stimulating inputs. I mean, no social media, no video streaming, no gaming, absolutely no checking business metrics, and yes, even cut out the processed junk food.
Instead, you're going to fill your weekend with these low-dopamine grounding activities. Go for a walk outside without headphones. Do some physical exercise. Cook a whole meal from scratch. Journal, or sketch out your long-term goals on a blank piece of paper. If you starve your brain of hyperstimulation for 48 hours, I promise you, by Sunday night, your mind will feel incredibly clear, and you will wake up Monday morning with a genuine, powerful surge of motivation.
Ultimately, it's really vital to remember that a dopamine detox is not about punishing yourself, and it's definitely not about giving up modern technology forever. It is simply a strategic pause. It's a purposeful tool used to lower your stimulation baseline so that doing the hard, meaningful things, the things that actually move the needle in your life, becomes easy again.
The real trick to success here is not to overwhelm yourself. Don't try to change everything all at once. To give yourself a massive competitive advantage right now, just pick one of these shifts to start with: the sacred morning, the deep work blocks, or the weekend reset. So which one of these will you choose today to start rewiring your brain?